Have you ever noticed that intelligent people often stand alone, not because they are unfriendly, but because they seem slightly out of sync with the rhythm of those around them? They speak little, rarely jump into conversations. Yet whenever they do, every word cuts straight to the essence. Carl Jung called this the burden carried by those who see both light and shadow. Intelligent people do not just hear words. They hear what exists behind the words. They do not just see behavior. They see motives, fears, defenses, and the dimmed corners inside a person. And this ability to see too deeply makes it impossible for them to blend in as effortlessly as most people do. You may look at them and assume they are distant, but the truth is, they hear noise in empty conversations. They sense falseness in hollow connections. They feel out of tune in spaces where people communicate through masks. They are not avoiding others. They simply cannot force themselves to exist in places that require them to shrink their own essence. In this video, I will walk you through 7 of the deepest reasons why intelligent people often detach from relationships and their surrounding environment. And pay special attention to the 7th reason because that is the true nature of their separation. The key that explains why intelligent people become powerful in their own unique way. Reason 1: seeing motives others do not notice. Some people often notice what everyone else overlooks. They catch instantly when someone forces a smile, when a voice hesitates for just a beat, or when a pair of eyes averts for a fraction of a moment. These signals tell them that the other person's true emotions do not match the words being spoken. Jung once wrote, "The unconscious always reveals itself. A person always exposes their true nature through tiny details, and intelligent people are the ones who recognize those details most clearly. Just a single expression out of rhythm is enough for them to sense the motive behind a conversation. It is not because they are overly sensitive, but because they have the habit of observing before speaking. An avoiding glance, a slightly unnatural smile, or a voice dropping half a tone helps them understand that the other person's genuine feelings differ from what is being presented. They are not analyzing anyone. They are simply listening more completely to both the words and the way those words are delivered. This natural attentiveness allows them to detect subtle jealousy hidden in a compliment or a hint of insecurity inside an otherwise ordinary sentence. These things do not upset them, but they do make them slow down before opening up. This ability does not place them above others. It is merely a calm form of perception. They are perceptive enough to know when a conversation is drifting away from authenticity, and because they sense this, they choose to keep a slight distance so their mind does not get pulled into things that do not belong to them. A young woman once told me that when she was promoted, everyone congratulated her enthusiastically, except for one friend who smiled and said she was lucky. The smile lasted a bit too long. The voice was slightly flat, and the eyes did not meet hers. Everyone else thought it was a normal comment. But to that intelligent woman, the energy behind it felt very different. It was not joy, it was a shade of disappointment. From that day on, she stopped sharing her achievements in that group. Not out of hurt, but because the mismatch was too obvious. When they sense awkwardness in a sentence or insincerity in a conversation, they lose emotional momentum and cannot maintain the same innocence as before. A flattering gesture makes them step back half a pace. When someone tries to mask their real emotions by acting cheerful, they notice the small strain behind the eyes. They cannot pretend not to notice. This is not pickiness. It is simply honesty in perception. When walking into a room, they can almost read the atmosphere before anyone speaks. Someone is anxious. Someone is excited. Someone is resentful. These unspoken emotions flow into them like a vivid stream of information, and this sensitivity makes them enter the world with caution. The subtle distance they create is not meant to shut anyone out, but to protect themselves from energies that are out of alignment with truth. Humans operate through complex unconscious layers. Defense mechanisms, comparison, jealousy, expectation, and the desire to be seen. These layers reveal themselves in the voice, in phrasing, in the tremor of the eyes, and highly intelligent people see these layers too clearly. It becomes hard for them to maintain a deep connection. not because they do not want to, but because they sense the inner gaps so vividly. A man once told me he always knew when someone approached him with an agenda. After just a few opening sentences, he could sense the intention behind the conversation. Some came to ask for favors, some wanted information, and some sought validation. These motives became apparent through tiny details he could not ignore, but this exhausted him. He said he did not dislike anyone. He simply feared the feeling of entering a conversation in a state of alertness. When they sense something off in someone's approach, they pause, not to avoid, but to observe whether this is a safe connection. Intelligent people know that if they open up too soon, they will easily be pulled into conversations that drain them. So they choose a small distance to prevent their mind from being entangled in someone else's expectations or emotions. This caution does not come from a desire for isolation. It is how they maintain their inner calm. They want relationships grounded in sincerity, not forced exchanges. And when they sense that sincerity has not yet shown up, they take a step back just enough to stay clear, but not enough to leave the interaction. In Jungian psychology, this relates to the ability to perceive the shadow in others. Jung believed the shadow reveals itself in the smallest moments. Intelligent people pick up on this, and their mind reacts instinctively. Other people's unconscious patterns affect them strongly. They understand that entering a relationship without clarity means carrying emotional weight that is not theirs. From this awareness, a subtle protective layer forms naturally. A healthy connection requires honesty. But most people build relationships from unresolved parts within themselves. Intelligent individuals know this well. When someone speaks from fear, they feel it. When someone speaks from hidden envy, they notice. When someone speaks from a longing to be accepted, they hear the dependency in the tone. None of this can be hidden from them. And because they cannot pretend not to notice, they choose to keep a distance. When interacting with others, they do not just observe. They also ask themselves whether they truly feel comfortable in this connection. They quickly sense where they belong, where they must shrink themselves, and where they must pretend. And when they sense that misalignment, they naturally slow down. This stepping back is not about leaving anyone. It is how they keep their emotions from being pulled into stories they do not want to engage in. They value inner peace, so they avoid relationships that require them to abandon themselves. When an interaction does not feel safe, they instinctively create distance to protect themselves. When they go quiet, it is because they are checking their own emotions against what is happening. They need a pause to understand whether what they feel is truly safe. When they step back, it is a natural response to a conversation drifting into discomfort. This is not avoidance, it is self-preservation. Their separation is not a wall, it is a gentle distance that keeps them from being tangled in emotions or motives they do not resonate with. They stand just far enough to stay clear, to avoid being distorted by things they already see from the start. That distance helps them preserve the truth they sense in the world around them. Have you ever withdrawn from someone simply because you saw something in them that they themselves never admitted? If you see yourself in this story, it does not mean you are different in a negative way. It means you are at the point in your journey where sensitivity becomes a gift rather than a burden. And to know what you should do next, see this sensitivity as a compass, leading you toward more genuine relationships, not as something that should make you shrink yourself. Reason 2. Most social relationships operate through roles. In daily interactions, many people are used to presenting a more acceptable version of themselves. They act cheerful when they need to be cheerful, confident when they need to appear confident, and comfortable even when they are full of inner concerns. Carl Jung called these forms persona, the social masks everyone wears to blend into the collective. Intelligent people are the group who wear that mask the least, and also the group who recognize it the fastest. When participating in large group conversations, they hear more than words. They notice the stiffness behind a smile, the hesitation in someone's eyes, or the calculation embedded in a polite question. These small cues make them feel tired more quickly because their mind cannot relax in an environment where genuine emotions are not being expressed. They do not have the ability to blend in by performing a role because that goes against their inner need for authenticity. Imagine a year-end company party. The room is lively, laughter is loud, and everyone seems friendlier than usual. A man stands among the crowd and realizes what each person is trying to project. One colleague speaks loudly to attract attention from the boss. Another laughs too hard to hide a sense of loneliness. A few are subtly competing while pretending to get along. He observes everything and understands that to truly fit into this atmosphere, he would have to play a role just like everyone else. That moment makes him step back, not because he looks down on anyone. He steps back because he understands that if he forces himself to continue blending in, he will have to become a version of himself that does not belong to him, and that goes against the way he wants to live. He says none of this makes him upset with anyone. It simply makes him unable to feel comfortable in an environment where people are not truly themselves. People around him still think he is keeping his distance for no reason. A colleague pats his shoulder and says, "It's the end of the year. Say whatever you want for fun. Don't sit there quietly." Another laughs and says, "Get up and pour some drinks. Why sit there alone?" To them, his silence is a sign of disconnect, but to him, it is simply a way to preserve inner comfort when the social atmosphere does not align with him. Intelligent people often notice small shifts in how others behave, but they do not rush to assign those shifts a negative meaning. They understand that sometimes a person appears more friendly than usual simply because they want to be acknowledged. A slightly forced compliment may come from shyness, not insincerity. A glance tinged with comparison may arise from natural human insecurity. These subtleties do not make them judge or distance themselves from others. They simply help them understand that every person carries fragile places within. Noticing these things makes them more careful in choosing how to connect, so they do not accidentally step into emotions that the other person has not yet processed. This caution is not an accusation, it is a form of respect for both sides. They do not need perfection in others. They only need enough straightforwardness so they do not have to detach themselves from the conversation. When a space is filled with masks, they feel as though they are stepping onto a stage rather than into a real interaction. And when they have to stand on that stage for too long, their mind gets tired because they must constantly distinguish who is being genuine and who is acting. I remember a girl telling me that in her old friend group, each person played a fixed role. One always told funny stories, another always acted successful, one constantly claimed to be busy, and another played the emotional advisor. Everything followed the same script for years, but when she wanted to share something important, no one truly listened. She realized the group had become so accustomed to maintaining their roles that there was no space left for genuine expression. After that, she spoke less, not out of distance, but because she could not find a place where truth could exist. Jung once said that the persona is necessary for us to function in society, but if we live too much in it, we lose authentic contact with ourselves. Intelligent people sense this very early. They feel discomfort when they must say things they do not mean, smile when they are not happy, or act agreeable when something inside them feels off. It is not that they are better than others, it is that they are sensitive to the inner dissonance. When they withdraw from big group conversations, it does not come from negativity. It is a natural response when they cannot feel sincerity. They do not want to put themselves in situations where they must guess whether what someone says matches what they actually feel. The mismatch between words and emotions exhausts them more than any deep conversation ever could. They can observe an entire gathering without participating much, not because they have nothing to say, but because they do not want to give their energy to interactions without foundation. When others are talking to fill the silence, they want to say something meaningful or listen with real presence. That frequency does not match spaces where surface matters more than depth. In workplace environments, this is common. A colleague speaks more energetically than usual, largely to make an impression on the boss. The intelligent observer senses that what people show is not necessarily what they think, so they only contribute when necessary and leave right after the meeting, instead of joining the long stretch of social small talk. This sometimes leads to misunderstandings. They appear indifferent or unenthusiastic, when in fact, they are choosing to contribute with focus and clarity, not performative enthusiasm. Intelligent people do not avoid others. They value sincere relationships. What they are cautious about are environments that require them to tense up or behave differently from what they genuinely feel. That is why they maintain a small distance enough to avoid being pulled into forms of communication that are uncomfortable for them. This way of living allows them to remain themselves in every situation, without reshaping themselves into an unfamiliar version. What exhausts them is not people, it is shallow conversations. When someone's words and emotions do not match, they lose orientation. As if they have stepped into a conversation with no point of grounding. They feel most comfortable in relationships where everyone can be natural and honest with their emotions, not trying to guess what the other person is really thinking. People who live through roles are not wrong. It is simply the way they adapt to life. But intelligent individuals need communication rooted in clarity and directness. This need draws them away from hollow conversations and toward connections where they feel safe and at ease. There are people who you once thought were quiet because they were not sociable. But if you pay attention, you will notice they are only quiet when the atmosphere is not genuine enough for them to open up. That silence is not withdrawal. It is a sign that they are preserving the truth within themselves. Intelligent people leave shallow conversations not because they think they are superior, but because they want to protect their inner truth from being diluted by interactions without substance. Even though they recognize the layers of roles society operates on, they also understand that everyone has their own reasons for protecting themselves. Their perceptiveness is not a reason to shut down, but an opportunity to approach others with deeper compassion. What they see is not for judgment. It is for learning how to step gently into another person's inner world. If there is anything they need to cultivate, it is empathy. Because when they can feel more, they can also support others with the calm presence they naturally carry. Just a warm presence is enough to help someone feel safe without needing to explain or advise too much. The energy of sincerity itself already has healing power. This difference in perception does not separate them from the world, it invites them to approach it with gentleness. Love, respect, and compassion are what help them connect without losing themselves. And in every inward journey, humility is the anchor that keeps them grounded among people. So how many times have you chosen silence not because you had nothing to say, but because your real emotions had no place in the conversation? Reason 3. Being unable to bear the emotional projections of others. Have you ever wondered why, in relationships, some people naturally become the place where others unload the heaviness they carry? What kind of strength do they have, or what is it within them that makes others unconsciously seek them out for emotional support? In truth, it comes from the way they perceive the world. They listen with subtlety and understanding, making others feel safe around them. They do not rush to judge, interrupt, or steer the conversation elsewhere. That quiet presence creates a sense of trust, and people come to them as a natural refuge. Their empathy makes them the receiver of emotions that the other person has not yet learned to handle on their own. Many people do not have the habit of processing emotions clearly. When they are sad, they seek someone to talk to. When they are worried, they look for someone to unload onto. When they feel dissatisfied, they seek someone to lean on. Intelligent people often end up closest to this role because the way they listen helps others feel lighter, even when no solutions are offered. Jung once said, "People will do anything to avoid facing their own souls." When someone is not ready to confront the most uncomfortable part of themselves, they unconsciously pass it on to the person who listens the deepest. And intelligent people often become that person, sometimes even when they never asked for it. In a group of friends, the intelligent one is often the person everyone chooses to confide in the most. Not because they have more free time, but because they listen with full presence. That makes everyone seek them out. But this depth is also what drains them, because when they hear a worry, their mind does not stay on the surface. They sense the fear underneath. When they hear a complaint, they feel the insecurity behind it. When they hear a story tinged with envy, they pick up on the lack of safety the other person is trying to hide. Think about it. Perhaps you have a close friend who calls you every time they are sad, confused, disappointed, or stuck at work. You listen, comfort them, and sometimes offer advice. But when you are the tired one, you realize you have no one to call. Has that friend ever once asked if you were doing okay? Understand that in that relationship, you have always been the one absorbing what they do not want to face themselves. Recognizing this helps you step back. Intelligent people do not want to become the place where others deposit all their heavy emotions. It has nothing to do with how much they love or care. They understand that if they keep carrying emotions for others, they will burn out before they can take care of themselves. What exhausts them is not listening, it is having to touch the worries, fears, and insecurities of others too often, to the point that their mind cannot recover in time. When someone is anxious, they easily transmit that anxiety to the listener. When someone is dissatisfied, their discontent bleeds into the listener. When someone is insecure, the listener subtly absorbs that instability through the way the story is told. Intelligent people sense these things instantly. They cannot ignore them. And that is exactly why they become emotionally overloaded faster than others. A person I know once told me that at work, colleagues often came to him to vent about family issues, pressure, and even things they did not dare tell anyone else. He listened out of kindness, but afterward, his mind felt heavy, as if he were carrying someone else's emotions. Some days, a short conversation left him, needing the entire afternoon to regain stability. He said he was not angry at anyone, he just realized he was sensitive enough to absorb the anxiety and insecurity other people carried. From that point on, he learned to set boundaries. Because if he continued like that, he would no longer have energy for himself. Intelligent people tire easily, not because they are weak, but because they are sensitive to other people's emotions. When someone shares a sad story, they do not just hear the content, they notice the drop in tone, the averted gaze, the tension that the other person does not put into words. That empathetic ability helps them understand quickly and deeply, but the same sensitivity can deplete them if they do not know how to protect themselves with boundaries. Some people often come to them to unload their unhappiness because they feel the listener knows how to keep secrets and will not react harshly. But this creates a cycle in which the listener repeatedly absorbs heavy emotions they never chose. They are pulled into stories that do not belong to them, and each story leaves traces in their mind. When they choose silence or step back, it is not avoidance. It is the moment they realize they are overloaded and need to reclaim some inner peace. They know they cannot keep listening to everything without being pulled into others' emotional storms, so they save their empathy for relationships that truly matter. Instead of exhausting themselves in stories they cannot carry, they understand that if they give all their energy away, they will not have enough calm left to care for themselves. A brother of mine who works in the creative industry once said he easily becomes the person to talk to at work. Without being asked, he listens actively and asks the kind of questions that make others feel understood. That is why colleagues unconsciously seek him out when they face problems. One day, after several emotionally heavy conversations in a row, he realized he could no longer focus on his tasks. He told me he was not annoyed, he just felt his mind being pulled off center from receiving too much in a single day. And when he recognized that, he quietly drew new boundaries for himself. Listen enough, but do not absorb. Perhaps this is one of the differences in intelligent people. They do not step back out of anger, but out of awareness of what is happening within themselves. Jung believed that projection is a natural human mechanism. People tend to place their pain on others to avoid facing it. Intelligent people, because of their natural empathy, are often the ones standing where those projections land. Realizing this does not make them close their hearts. It helps them understand when to step back and when to step forward. Their distance is sometimes misunderstood. Some think they are cold. Some think they are distant. Some assume they lack enthusiasm for relationships. But when you understand the context, you realize it is a healthy reaction from someone trying to maintain inner balance while facing too many external emotions. Their love does not disappear. They still want to be there for others, but they understand that love is only healthy when placed in the right space. They need a safe environment where they can connect without having to carry the emotions that do not belong to them. When they step back, it is their way of keeping their inner world from becoming overloaded. And once they have recovered, they return with more calmness and more love than before. Intelligent people create distance because they understand the mind has limits. They can clearly distinguish which emotions are theirs and which have been projected onto them, and they know that not every story that reaches their ears is a story they are meant to carry. Join the conversation in the comments. Have you recently felt exhausted? Not because of your own problems, but because you accidentally carried someone else's emotions before you were ready? We would love to hear your story. Reason 4. Realizing that many relationships make them shrink. One of the things that makes intelligent people withdraw from a relationship the fastest is the feeling that they must shrink themselves, so everything feels less tense. They notice very quickly when their presence makes someone uncomfortable, when their joy is not welcomed, or when their enthusiasm is misunderstood as showing off. These tiny signals make them speak less, express less, and try to blend in so others feel more at ease, even though they can clearly sense they are pulling themselves back far more than what is natural. When they talk about what they are passionate about, many people assume they talk too much or too excitedly. When they share a small accomplishment, the atmosphere shifts instantly. Someone changes the subject, someone offers a polite smile, and someone else goes quiet because they do not know how to respond. When they reveal their inner strength, someone may feel threatened or compared. Even if no one says a word, intelligent people can feel the subtle emotional movement inside the room. These things make them wonder whether they should share less to keep the atmosphere comfortable for everyone. But this is not oversensitivity. It is the natural response of a person who can observe with precision and quickly understand when something in the other person's feelings is slightly off. When they notice this happening repeatedly, they adjust how they show up. They speak just enough, express just enough, and save the important parts of themselves for those who can receive them. They are not shrinking themselves, they are choosing to use their energy more wisely. Jung once wrote, "Shame is a soul-eating emotion." This quote is not only about shame itself, but also about forcing oneself to be smaller to fit someone else's sense of safety. When they realize that their presence or their joy makes others uncomfortable, they feel like they are no longer themselves. It is the quiet fear of being rejected simply for being authentic. Imagine someone getting a raise and sharing the news in a group chat, hoping for a few sincere congratulations. But the responses are short, rushed, and followed by a strange silence. No one looks upset, but it is clear that their joy is not being received the way they expected. That moment signals that it is no longer a safe space to share the things that truly matter to them. Have you ever experienced something similar? It is not that you want to shine, and not that you want to surpass anyone, you simply want to be yourself. You understand that everyone has insecurities and sensitive areas. Out of respect for that, you always think carefully before you speak. But when that caution repeatedly turns into self-suppression, you find yourself speaking less, softening your voice, and shrinking the truest parts of yourself, just to avoid making others uncomfortable. A friend once told me that when she talked about a personal project she was proud of, her coworker responded with nothing more than an awkward, "Yeah." She said she was not hurt, but she sensed something subtle. Her story made the other person feel inferior. She did not want anyone to feel that way. So afterwards she shared less about her progress. But the more she hid, the more she felt like she was suffocating a part of her own vitality. The need to live at one's true size is a natural need of any mature mind. Intelligent people do not want to be better than anyone, they simply want to say what they genuinely think and do what aligns with their nature. But when they must dim their passion or hide their abilities so others will not feel uneasy, they begin to feel restricted. That feeling is not easy to name, only that something inside them becomes tense, as if they are no longer living most naturally. When they are around people who constantly feel competitive or comparative, they must monitor every word so as not to accidentally touch someone's insecurities. That takes away their natural flow. They must pay attention to everyone else's feelings so much that they no longer have energy left to live according to their own. The exhaustion does not come from anyone in particular. It comes from having to fit into relationships that are not right for them. Intelligent people also sense when they begin to be seen as a threat. Just by speaking what they believe or showing a bit of inner strength, they can feel someone closing their heart. That closure tells them they need to step back to avoid creating more distance. And this stepping back, repeated over time, gradually makes them appear less often in spaces that once felt familiar. I once encountered a case like this in a friend group. A girl told me her friends no longer invited her out as often. The reason was not that they did not want to see her, but because every time she talked about what she was doing in her life, they felt she was drifting farther away. She realized this and narrowed her conversations to stay in sync. But the more she narrowed herself, the more she felt like she was dimming the best parts of who she was. That was one of the moments that led her to step away from relationships that did not nourish her. Sensitivity to energy allows intelligent people to recognize relationships that make them shrink. They clearly see when they must hold back their excitement so others will not feel uncomfortable. They clearly see when their achievements do not make others happy. They clearly see when their abilities make someone feel unsafe. These tiny signals help them understand that they cannot grow in that environment. And so, intelligent people often leave relationships that require them to suppress themselves. They do not leave out of anger, nor because they think they are better than anyone. They leave to find a space where they can say what they think, show what they have, without making anyone feel threatened. When they find a place where authenticity is welcomed, they breathe easier and live more naturally. This separation is not coldness. It is the way they keep their inner world from shrinking a little more each day. They understand that a growing mind needs room, and when that room disappears, they must find another space to continue evolving. Before moving on to the fifth reason, we want to thank you for joining us for half of this video. Every minute of this journey is a moment for learning and growth, and your presence here listening and reflecting with us is a valuable gift we cherish deeply. To help us spread these meaningful lessons to more people, please hit like and share this video. Each share you make is a small action with a profound impact. And do not forget, the fifth reason is waiting for you in the next part. Let us continue exploring and receiving these timeless teachings together. Once again, thank you for your companionship. Reason 5. Understanding that psychological energy is finite. Psychological energy is not an infinite resource. Intelligent people have a very clear awareness that every interaction, every conversation, and every emotion they take in consumes a portion of their inner strength. This is not a theory, but a very real experience they feel through each day of living. Each small interaction, each seemingly harmless dialogue. While many people can talk all day without feeling tired, intelligent people often need time to recover after emotionally heavy conversations. Not because they are weak, but because they receive more layers of information. They hear the words, but at the same time, they notice the tone, the eyes, the pauses, the slight tension in facial expressions. All of those signals go straight into their mind and drain their energy faster than other people. Jung once said, "Energy is the currency of the psyche. Energy is the currency of the mind." Every conversation is like an energy transaction. A person who speaks clearly and honestly makes them feel lighter and able to breathe more freely. Conversely, a person whose words carry instability makes them feel mentally heavy, unfocused, and drained in just a few minutes. People with deep intelligence notice this shift very quickly, almost instinctively. At a cafe, if the conversation revolves endlessly around complaining, gossiping, or things with no resolution, they feel their energy drop very quickly. Their mind becomes heavy, their focus weakens, and it may take them hours afterward to regain inner balance. On the other hand, when talking to someone who understands them and speaks with depth, their spirit brightens immediately. Ideas come faster, mental flexibility expands, and they feel recharged. This shows that the rate of psychological depletion across different types of connections is entirely different, and it is a very real experience for people with deep awareness. An artist I once worked with shared that whenever she was pulled into conversations full of drama or negativity, she felt her entire afternoon shift off-center. She could not focus. Her energy replenishment slowed down significantly. But when she spoke with someone who listened and resonated with her frequency, she could work all day without feeling tired. She did not see this as being picky, but as understanding how she truly operates. People with deep awareness know their energy must be used strategically. This is not selfish, it is a necessary form of self-protection. They understand that their presence has value, and wasting it on conversations that bring no nourishment will drain their mind. From that experience, they learn selective engagement. They do not jump into every meeting for the sake of politeness. They do not accept every conversation just because they are afraid to say no. They do not maintain every connection just to keep the peace. Intelligent people recognize that their strength does not lie in talking more or doing more, but in allocating energy to the right places. When they connect with someone on the same level of awareness, their inner world expands. But when they encounter energies that pull them out of balance, they feel themselves sinking very quickly. Knowing who nourishes them and who drains them is one of the most important psychological abilities that helps them maintain clarity. At work, intelligent people often realize that their mental energy is drained most when they have to face negativity or chaotic environments. They notice that long, unfocused meetings take away a huge amount of concentration. They know that when they are in deep focus, even a small, trivial conversation can pull them out of their mental flow. An ill-timed comment or irrelevant small talk can break their train of thought, and it takes them much longer than others to return to their original state of focus. That is why they avoid unnecessary conversations, because every disruption forces them to start again from the beginning. They are not difficult people. They simply understand the psychological cost of every moment. Some office workers say that if they get pulled into negative conversations in the morning, their entire workday becomes unstable. But if they preserve their inner quiet, they can accomplish a great deal without feeling tired. This reveals an important truth. Their mental energy depends greatly on the environment they choose to engage with. When they feel too drained, their mind sends signals quickly. They speak less, meet fewer people, and prioritize solitude. This is not distance, it is recovery. They know that if they do not protect their boundaries, they will lose the ability to think and feel deeply, the very abilities that make them who they are. Intelligent people often work with high levels of focus, so they become mentally exhausted quickly after long meetings. Not because of the workload, but because they must process multiple opinions, emotions, and unspoken expectations in the room. While most people only hear the content of the meeting, they also feel the layers of energy behind it. Slight tension among colleagues, hidden anxiety, or subtle competition no one mentions. When they walk out, they often need a few minutes alone to reset. This reflects how a sensitive and deep mind operates. They take in more layers of information than others, so they need time to rebalance their energy. Jung believed that inner awareness can only develop when the mind is sufficiently focused. This means that if intelligent people spread their attention across too many social interactions at once, they will quickly lose connection with themselves. Therefore, they protect their mental energy with clear boundaries. They do not accept activities they know will exhaust them. They leave environments filled with noise or emotional chaos, and they avoid conversations that force them to shrink their thoughts or suppress their authenticity to fit in. Their separation does not come from coldness, but from a deep understanding of their own value. They know that every action, every conversation, and every interaction is an energy expense, and they do not want to spend psychological money on things that do not nourish their soul. Intelligent people are not distant. They simply choose to protect their energy for what truly matters. Healthy relationships, nourishing conversations, and spaces that allow them to grow. How many times have you found yourself exhausted? Not because of work, but because you were in a conversation that did not belong to you. If that has happened, you are beginning to understand why intelligent people choose to protect their energy. And in the sixth reason, you will see more clearly. They do not push people away, they are simply returning to spaces quiet enough for their mind to rest. Share your story in the comments. Your experience may be the mirror many people need, quietly living the same way without knowing where to begin. Reason 6. Living in depth, not in noise. There is something very characteristic of truly intelligent people. They do not find energy in noise. In a lively crowd, their mind steps back a beat. In loud conversations, they hear nothing but distraction. In spaces crowded with voices, they feel their thoughts being pushed into a dark corner. They do not lack social skills. They simply function best in places where silence allows their mind to operate at depth. Jung once wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order." For intelligent people, That order does not exist in loud music or rooms filled with laughter. It exists in quiet spaces where their thoughts can align with their own inner rhythm. Noise is not inherently wrong, but it pulls them away from their inner stream of thinking, the very core of their mental life. You may know a young engineer who spent an entire evening at his tech company's team-building event. Loud music, coworkers drinking beer, energetic conversations, and ongoing games kept the night upbeat. Everyone seemed to be having fun, except him. As the evening went on, he felt his mind growing tired. He did not hate his coworkers. He simply felt himself being dragged away from his familiar mental rhythm. "There's nothing wrong with the party," he said, "but it's just not the place for me." End quote. The next morning, he sat alone in a quiet cafe, opened his laptop, wrote a few lines of code, and read a chapter of a book. Just a few hours like that made him feel reborn. He was not isolating himself. He just needed an environment that brought him back to his inner rhythm, a place where his thoughts could flow without interruption. In the workplace, they function best when their thinking is not fragmented. They need quiet to focus, depth to observe, and silence to keep their inner world from being pulled off track. But people around them often create noise they cannot ignore: complaints, gossip, and endless small talk. They feel that chaos immediately, as if an invisible hand is pulling their attention away from its center. While they are trying to concentrate, someone brings up a random story. A group nearby laughs too loudly. A complaint erupts beside them. These things may not disrupt most people, but for them, the entire chain of thoughts can snap instantly. They do not react with anger, but their mind contracts, trying to regain its rhythm, trying to gather scattered ideas. Even when they hear others saying they are cold or distant for not joining the chatter, they remain quietly focused. Responding to noise would drain them further. Explaining themselves would pull them into things they do not want. To them, protecting their inner quiet matters more than proving anything. Silence is their way of preserving their sharpness. I once knew a researcher who said that after just one noisy workday, she needed the entire evening to regain her balance. A space with too much stimulation kept her from accessing the deeper part of her mind, the place where her best ideas lived. But when she worked in a quiet room, she completed twice the amount of work without feeling tired. For her, silence was not isolation. It was fuel for thinking. Ambiguity in communication also drains intelligent people. They feel uneasy when someone says one thing, but means another. They sense the gaps in tone, the forced smiles, the insincere congratulations. This makes it impossible for them to stay long in conversations where surface matters more than substance. Shallowness suffocates them because it forces them to temporarily shut down their natural ability to feel deeply. Intelligent people need depth. Not exaggerated philosophical depth, just real depth. Where conversations have meaning. Where people speak honestly. Where the pace is slow enough for them to hear themselves. In such conversations, their minds feel spacious, their emotions breathe easily, and they feel more connected to the world. This is not a luxury. It is a biological need of a sensitive mind. Many people feel most comfortable in crowds. Intelligent people feel the opposite. They are most at ease in smaller spaces where voices are not too loud and where they can think without interruption. They do not need many people around them. They need truth, quiet, and compatibility. These are what restore their energy more than any social activity. Bill Gates is known for his think weeks, when he withdraws from all meetings, turns off communication, and lives alone in a cabin to read, write, and think. Not because he is isolated. He knows the noise of constant work and conversations breaks the mental rhythm he needs to think deeply. He once said that if someone interrupts him during deep thought, it takes hours to return to that original place. That is why he protects silence. It preserves the sharpness of his mind. This is how intelligent people operate. They prioritize environments that help them think clearly, rather than chase the noise around them. The separation described in this reason is not coldness. It is honest with its internal frequency. Intelligent people know they thrive when they have enough space to think, enough quiet to breathe, and enough depth to feel. They do not withdraw from the world. They withdraw from places that cannot nourish their depth. They want meaningful relationships, conversations that touch the inner world, moments of quiet that allow them to understand themselves better. This is not being difficult. It is honoring their true nature. When you understand why intelligent people need quiet, you will see another truth clearly, that quiet is not just a preference. It becomes the foundation from which they process all emotions, a place where they no longer react impulsively but respond with awareness. Reason 7. Knowing the difference between an emotional reaction and a conscious response. When faced with situations that easily trigger emotional outbursts in others, intelligent people move one beat slower. They listen to the entire criticism before replying. They let the sting of pride pass before speaking again. They observe the discomfort rising within themselves instead of immediately firing back. That tiny but intentional pause is the foundation of the emotional maturity they have built. Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Intelligent people have reached this level. They see their emotions rising. They see the inner mechanism operating, and they see the consequences of reacting out of instinct. They choose to respond with awareness instead of losing themselves in a burst of emotion. In daily life, you will recognize this difference very clearly. When someone gets angry, most people get pulled into that anger and react in the same way. When criticized or misunderstood, many respond instantly to defend themselves. But intelligent people do not. They step back half a second to see what is happening inside them. They do not try to suppress emotion. They simply want to ensure they are not acting out of instinct. In that small moment, they ask themselves, which response best preserves my dignity? And that simple question helps them avoid countless unnecessary conflicts. Someone once shared his workplace experience with me. During a meeting, a colleague made a harsh comment in front of their manager. Everyone looked at him, waiting for a reaction, but he looked at the colleague for a few seconds and said, "Let's discuss this privately." He moved past the feeling of being attacked to keep his composure. Others thought he was being overly tolerant, but he knew very clearly that reacting in that moment would make everything heavier. He refused to let his ego ruin the reputation he had built over many years. What set him apart was not patience, it was emotional discipline, a form of maturity very few possess. He chose to act based on his values, not on the emotional trigger of the moment. When he walked out of the meeting room, he carried no resentment. He simply felt he had preserved the identity he believed in. Many people saw his silence as coldness. But the truth is, he understood that emotions are waves. If you do not react immediately, the wave will fade. If you latch onto it, the wave will swallow you. The pause between stimulus and action is where intelligent people stand firm. They do not let others decide who they become in that moment. The same is true in relationships. When someone speaks carelessly, they do not explode. They know that sometimes words are simply the product of a tiring day, a personal worry, or an insecurity the person has not dealt with. They look beyond the volume of the words and into the intention behind them. This helps them avoid unnecessary hurt. They maintain warmth in how they treat people, even when facing difficult energy. A woman once shared that her best friend told her, "You have changed." In the past, she would have reacted, explaining, defending, or feeling hurt. But in that moment, she asked herself, is she talking about me or about her own feelings right now? That simple question softened her. After a few minutes, she realized her friend was experiencing internal comparison and insecurity. Instead of arguing, she chose to listen. That calmness saved the friendship from a pointless conflict. Intelligent people do not avoid emotions. They face them with clarity. They see anger before anger speaks for them. They recognize sadness before it makes them withdraw. They feel envy rising and ask why it is there. Because of this, they are not blindly led by emotion. They move through emotions with awareness instead of chasing after them. You will notice this especially in disagreements. When others raise their voice to prove they are right, intelligent people do not fight. They see no value in a battle of egos. They understand that winning an argument is never as important as maintaining clarity. They do not need noise to assert themselves. Their calmness is their loudest voice. In the family, they function the same way. When conflict arises, they do not escalate emotions. They recognize what the real emotion is and what is simply a temporary reaction. This helps them resolve tension with clarity instead of mutual hurt. That calmness sometimes makes others misunderstand them as unemotional, but they know that numbness and awareness are two completely different things. The ability to differentiate reaction from response places them on a different frequency. Reaction belongs to instinct. Response belongs to inner mastery. Intelligent people live from mastery, and therefore, they often create an invisible distance from those who operate on instinct. Not a distance of rejection, but a distance born from a difference in levels of awareness. The contrast is so stark that it sometimes makes them appear as if they stand between two worlds. They do not try to appear strong. Their strength comes from not being ruled by emotion. This helps them make more accurate decisions, speak words that cause less harm, and protect the relationships that matter sustainably. That is why they tend to speak less in tense situations. They know once words are spoken, they cannot be taken back, and they want to ensure that every word comes from awareness, not temporary emotion. The ability to self-observe is their most powerful tool. They see how emotion influences thought, and how thought influences action. Because of this, they retain the right to choose, instead of allowing the unconscious to choose for them. This is a very high form of self-governance that makes them steady in almost all situations. When you watch an intelligent person remain still in situations where others lose control, you will see that their separation is not coldness. It is the protection of identity. They refuse to let a careless word or an instinctive reaction destroy what they have built. They know the true winner is not the one who speaks the most, but the one who stays clear-minded until the end. When you are mature enough not to react, you shift to a different frequency from those who react constantly, and that shift in frequency makes you stand alone but stand firm. Intelligent people are not lonely. They simply operate on a layer that most have not reached. When was the last time you stayed silent instead of reacting instantly? And did you realize that was the moment you became stronger? And how many times have you been labeled cold simply because you chose maturity over instinct? Understanding this helps you see that separation is not a sign of distance. It is the natural step of someone learning to master themselves. After walking through the 7 deepest reasons, we begin to see that the separation of intelligent people is not a flaw. It is the way a mature mind operates when it understands the true value of its inner clarity. They do not step back because they fear others. They step back because they want to preserve the most authentic part of themselves. The part that does not want to be worn down by noise or hollow connections. The distance they create is not coldness. It is an act of honesty with their inner world. In a society that glorifies loudness, not blending into the crowd is often misunderstood as an attitude problem. But for intelligent people, keeping a distance is how they protect their true nature. In places where they must speak less, think shallower, or dim their sharpness just to make others comfortable, they feel they are no longer themselves. Their retreat is a form of self-respect, quiet but deeply resolute, because they refuse to trade their inner truth for superficial harmony. When you understand that you are someone who thinks deeply and feels deeply, you stop trying to live like the majority just to appear normal. You no longer fear judgment for preferring silence over noise. You no longer feel guilty for not wanting to join every gathering. You stop trying to please everyone because you understand that each person has a different rhythm of life. What keeps you grounded is recognizing which environments allow you to expand and which ones force you to shrink. And the most beautiful part is this. Once you are steady enough, you begin to meet people who naturally understand your depth. No searching, no forcing yourself to fit in, no proving anything. Your frequency will draw them in effortlessly. In that case, separation is not a wall. It is a doorway, one that opens to the people you truly belong with, and who belong with you in a very gentle way. Before you leave, take a moment to answer one important question. Among these 7 reasons, which one reflects you the most? Your story may become a mirror for someone who is struggling just like you, and perhaps your words will be exactly what they need to stand a little stronger in their own life. And if what I shared in this video touched you at any level, Make sure to subscribe so you will not miss the next content about inner strength, depth psychology, and the journey of returning to your true nature. Turn on the notification bell so that each time we meet again, you will receive exactly the message you need at that moment.